Alright guys, good morning. So today we are on lesson 21. The objective is I can explain the size of the product and relate fraction and decimal equivalents. So it's actually two very separate parts of the objective. We're going to break this up into 2 days. Today we're going to tackle the size of the product part of the objective, and tomorrow we're going to do relating the fraction and decimal equivalents. So we're going to take it in two pieces. So explaining the size of the product. We know product is the answer to a multiplication problem. And I'm going to show you, so if you can take out your notebook and copy the objective you see here. If you need to pause the video to give yourself a chance to copy it down, please do that now. I'm going to write down 3 expressions. Please copy these into your notebook. So we're going to do 1/4 times 3/3, 1/4 times 1/6, and 1/4 times 5/4. So copy those down, and without solving, I want you to look at those 3 and tell me, or think about, which would be the biggest, which would give you the greatest product, which would give you the smallest product, and which would give you the one in between. So you can pause the video now to take a second to think about that. So again, you were supposed to look at this without solving. 1/4 times 3/3, hopefully you realize that 3/3 is the same as 1 whole. And anything times 1 is just itself. Right, so 1/4 times a fraction that's equivalent to 1, 3/3 is a fraction that's equivalent to 1, would leave you with what you started with. Okay? I don't know what 1/4 times 1/6 is off the top of my head. I mean, I do, but without solve, we're trying not to solve it. We're just thinking that if I take 1/4 times a fraction, I'm going to end up with a smaller fraction. Something smaller, something less than 1/4. I don't know what it's going to be. I mean, it's going to be 1/24, but it's going to be something less than 1/4. Over here, I'm multiplying 1/4 times 5/4. 5/4, hopefully you realize, is an improper fraction. It's the same as 1 and 1/4. If I'm multiplying 1/4 times something greater than 1, multiplying 1/4 times 1 gives me 1/4. Multiplying 1/4 times something smaller than 1 would give me an answer smaller than 1/4. Multiplying 1/4 times something bigger than 1 is going to give me an answer that's greater than 1/4. I don't know exactly what it's going to be, but I know this is going to be greater than 1/4, this is going to be less than 1/4, and this is going to be exactly 1/4. Let's look at another example like that. Copy these 3 expressions down. 1/2 times 3/5, 6/3 times 3/5, and 8/8 times 3/5. So 3 different expressions, all multiplying something times 3/5. Using the same logic as above, pause the video, ask yourself which would be the least product, which would be the greatest product, and which would be the product in between. So finding the one that is exactly 3/5 is easy, right? This one, 8/8 equals a whole. A whole times 3/5 equals 3/5. This is multiplying 3/5 by something smaller than 1. This is multiplying 3/5 by something bigger than 1. 6/3 is greater than a whole. It's an improper fraction. Or sometimes you'll see it as a mixed number. Sometimes you'll see it as an improper fraction. Sometimes you'll see it as a whole. 6/3 is actually 2. Here's 3/5 multiplied by 1, multiplied by something more than 1, multiplying it by something less than 1. And your products all correspond to that. If you multiply it by exactly 1, you get exactly 3/5. If you multiply it by something greater than 1, you get something greater than 3/5. If you multiply it by something less than 1, you're going to get an answer less than 3/5. Let's do a little fill in the blank here. 2/7 times blank would equal 2/7. 2/7 times blank would be greater than 2/7. 2/7 times blank would be less than 2/7. Pause the video and write those down. And try to plug in a fraction that would make those true. So pause the video, try to plug in a fraction that would make those three correct. So I always find this one to be the easiest. 2/7 times something that would give you exactly 2/7. It's any fraction that would equal 1. 1/1, 2/2, 3/3, 4/4, 5/5, 6/6, 7/7, 8/8, and on to infinity. There's an infinite number of correct answers for this. I can pick 10/10. Anything that will equal a whole. This one, 2/7 times something to give us an answer greater than 2/7. I need to pick an answer greater than 1 whole. Again, an infinite number of possibilities here. Anything greater than 1 will be correct. So maybe I'm going to say 17/13. Any improper fraction is greater than a whole, so any improper fraction would give you an answer greater than 2/7. Now here, 2/7 times something, again, an infinite number of possibilities, but it has to be a regular fraction, a fraction that's less than 1. So maybe I'm going to pick 12/20. Right? Any fraction that's a proper fraction will be correct. Okay. So right now, open up your problem set to page 323. We're going to skip the front. That's part of what we're going to come back to tomorrow. And let's look at number 3. Jack said that if you take a number and multiply it by a fraction, the product will always be smaller than what you started with. Is he correct? Why are we not? Explain your answer and give at least 2 examples to support your thinking. So if you take a fraction, if you take a number and multiply it by a fraction, will it always be something smaller? Like, let's say 10. That's the number. We're going to multiply it by a fraction. Will your answer always be smaller than 10? Well, the answer is yes, if you're multiplying it by a proper fraction, right? But what if you choose to multiply it by this fraction? Is your answer going to be smaller than 10? No, it's going to be equal to 10. This would be less than 10. It would be 5. What if you multiply 10 by this? An improper fraction. If you multiply a number by an improper fraction, you're multiplying it by more than 1, you're going to get more than what you started with. So Jack's thinking is not correct here. Please pause the video and give your own examples that would show and write in words explaining your thinking. Alright guys, so from here you're going to go back to the daily lesson plan. You're going to click on the link to join our Khan Academy classroom and then watch the Khan Academy video and then do the Khan Academy practice. They will send me your results automatically. Alright, if you have any questions or are confused, I suggest you stop, rewind the video, play it again, and try to stop it and rewind on places that you get confused so you can see it more than once.